so I have to make my speeches in Spanish, right? Okay? Alrighty, I'm gonna start. This is really hard for me because, as you may see, I'm Hispanic. My first language is Spanish. This is my second language. I learned this language 20 years ago. I'm still learning. It's quite difficult, and it's a challenge for me tonight. Try to make it worth it. So we'll see what happens, right? But if you never been in Houston, please go ahead and try to see what's going on there. It's a beautiful community. You can see a lot of people with all over the globe, and your neighbor next to you is from Pakistan. The other one is from China. So you have no idea what are you gonna eat that day, because probably your best friend is gonna invite you something that is not part of your plans. And trust me, you can enjoy it. So I didn't come to talk about me. I came to talk about my city, the city where I live, and about everything that is going on every single day over there. As you heard, my name is Cecilia Pérez. I've been living in Houston for over 20 years. My husband is taking care of my children by now. My daughter is 12, and her name is Dalia, and my son is 9. His name is Miguel. And I want to talk about the first thing that I started looking for a school. I was looking for a school that came out of the pocket, right? I don't want to follow into the same system. And I did my research. The only one that really works fine for me, it was Keep Academy. But around our neighborhood, it was like impossible to find a possibility to something like that. Then in our neighborhood, it was a closed building. It was a hospital, actually, and they closed down that building. So I've seen a banner for many years, almost like 3-4 years, with a banner that said, Keep Academy coming soon. It was really funny because at least once a month, I have to drive through that street to see when was coming. And finally, when I've seen the changes in that building, I called the main office. They told me the doors were going to be open in 2014, 2015. I was excited, to be honest, because to make sure the banner says keep pre-K all the way to college. And I say, I don't have to look for any other high-quality school. This is the place where I'm going to send my children forever and ever. I started looking for a house, but by the time that I was looking for it, it has to be where the school was going to be, because I didn't want to go back and forth in the middle of the freeway and to wait forever and ever to go to the school. So everything has to be really close, and everything has to be really simple for me to go back and forth. So this is Keep Houston. This one, Keep Connect, is the first school who opens doors and gives the opportunity mainly for residents, for the people who live in that neighborhood, which I'm so happy that I live there because I don't have to go back and forth, right? So last year, Legacy Clinic started offering services inside the school. It's really nice to know that I don't have to look for any doctor, or I don't have to take my children out of school to lose my day, to make them lose their day, to day of learning, because at the end, they're going to lose something. And I've never been taking my children out of school until now. They have to go since 7:25 all the way to 5:30 probably. But I'm so happy. The school and the doctor is in the same place. If they get sick, they go to the doctor, they see the doctor, and then my prescription is ready to pick up at the pharmacy. So I save like what? Like the entire day, probably 6-8 hours, because Houston is getting bigger and bigger, and to wait for a doctor, it's a nightmare. Probably you're gonna stay there forever and ever, and you're never gonna get it. So it's easier that way. YMCA, I'm gonna talk about the beautiful YMCA. YMCA has their building next to the school, behind the church. It's still a project to open that building, but for now, they're working inside the school. They have after-school programs. They teaching cooking, art, debating. Every single thing that you can barely imagine for 2 hours is way too much for children, to help them how to do their homeworks and to teach them how to cook and things like that. I think it's awesome to see that you don't have to suffer anymore and to try to find a place to keep them busy, because you have to keep a child busy in order to make sure they're going in the right path. Next to the school also, in the same block, I'm talking about the same block, everything is there. We have the school, we have the church, St. Luke's Church. It's really next to the school. You don't even have to walk, not even 5 feet from the school, technically. They offer a lot of services, and they're not offering just for the church members. They offer them for every single person who likes to attend and get help. They help every single one. Right behind the church, they just built a soccer field. It's a huge, beautiful soccer field that children now, they have a place to play. Before that, the school didn't have any place. Why? Because it was a hospital. So if you're trying to find a green space in Houston, forget it. You're not going to find it. You have to drive at least 5 miles to get a park or something like that. So to have everything connected and everything in the same spot is quite perfect. I remember this morning that you were talking about immigrants, about Latinos, and about everything else. It's hard to see all those graphics and everything that you're talking about, racist. I mean, we have to be honest. As an immigrant, we face something else. We face, like, we don't have the language. That's the first thing that we have to face it. The second one is culture. Our culture is totally way different than yours. We're so attached to all those things that they don't let us get the next step. So if you're trying to find out who's next to you, just go ahead and ask them. Probably the people who's working for you, they used to be doctors. They used to be someone, and they have to start all over again from zero. So it's really funny because as you're talking about education and about all those beautiful things, we're just trying to face whatever we have. So, okay, I think I'm pretty much done with what I have to say. It's funny, right? I just want to say thanks to every single one of you to let me have the opportunity to talk about what's going on in my city, to say thanks to everybody who's made this possible, and to make our life a lot easier. So please be our guest and try to go to Houston and try to make sure to wear comfortable clothing there because it's really hot and humid. So we don't know anything about autumn. So you skip all the way from summer to winter. We don't know what autumn means. So be my guest, and thank you very much.